I saw The Lion King on the weekend. Dan, do you give a shit at all about spoilers? Are you going to see this movie? I mean, you got
I've
kids, but
seen
you
the
give a
movie.
shit.
Dan's the only one who's got kids.
No, the live action version.
Yeah, this follows the
Which
same
is
plot.
animated.
I've seen the fucking movie.
Okay. The point is that no, you haven't, right? It's like, oh, I played Cursed of Strahd, and the Unnatural 20s played Cursed of Strahd. We played the same game. No, you damn well didn't. It is radically different.
No, we didn't. We never rolled for dick size.
Speak for yourself. We actually did shortly after Cursed of Strahd in our campaign.
Yeah, no, we never
and
did.
after doing that, I realized I would never do that again.
I remember I tried to do it once as a joke, and you shut it right down.
Well, what happened was...
Anyway, Lion King.
Well, what happened was we said, okay, roll a d12 and add your Constitution modifier.
Which already seems ridiculous.
Yeah, which I'm thinking, that's all right. And the idea is that you're getting the overall size and girth, right? The con modifier is girth, and here we are. Jamie freaking rolls a 12.
Yeah.
And he just, that man strutted.
As a barbarian.
As a barbarian. So he had like a +4 modifier at that point. That man strutted into Dungeons & Dragons for the next 2 months. And then Terry rolled got a 2, and he goes, what am I adding? Which is just not fair.
It wasn't good.
So,
yeah, he was very proud that his imaginary character has a massive dick. It's like, fair one, I guess.
The bright side, he's never disarmed.
Fair one. Yeah, improvised weapons. Anyway, Lion King,
I really, really, really freaking enjoyed it. I laughed my way through it. I thought it was fantastic. There are a lot of people that are complaining about it, and I don't know what the complaints are about.
I got an issue with the Lion King.
All right, what's your issue?
And it started with the original one, but it didn't get much better with the second one. Or the new one. I am in by no way a furry. I just wanted this is where this is going to go with how I started this sentence.
Shit, all right, everybody get
comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm no way a furry. Okay, I don't like it. I'm not about that. Stay away from me, otherwise you're getting tased. But there's something about Nala, right? Where in the first one, it's her eyes. I think she's got very beautiful eyes, and the way she kind of lays back on the grass, she kind of like.
And the second one, she's Beyonce.
And the second one, she's Beyonce. So it's like, I'm weirdly turned on by this lion that I probably shouldn't be. And then that rolls over into Lola Bunny, and before you know it...
No.
You're shagging a dog?
Lola Bunny rolls into everything else. That's where it starts.
I wish she'd roll into me.
You guys are completely fucking on your own on this.
Really?
Yeah, I liked The Lion King because I freaking laughed. Timon and Pumbaa, infinitely better in this version.
So good.
I freaking laughed. What's his name?
Seth Rogen was
Billy, is it Eichner? Am I getting that even remotely right?
I can't even
The guy
remember.
that did Timon.
Yeah.
Fuck, he was on point. In The Lion King, the first one, Pumbaa does his backstory about how he doesn't have any friends because he farts too much and so on and so forth. But he says every time that and then Timon cuts him off and says, whoa, this is a kid's show, right? In this version, he goes, every time that I farted, you're not going to cut me off? No, man. We don't need to cut that off.
It's funny.
And it subverts a few of your expectations, but the best part of the whole damn thing was John Oliver.
Yeah.
As Zazu.
As Zazu?
Shit, I freaking loved it. He went off on puns at the beginning, and it was like cheetahs never prosper and shit like that. I was rolling.
Oh, when he's giving his report.
Yeah.
His daily Zazu report. Yeah, it's so good. 2 giraffes were caught necking.
Yeah.
You saw it too?
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh.
It was a work trip for us. We were
You work in a fitness studio.
Yeah.
Why are you watching Lion King?
Right, because I get sick to death of being around people and their problems. That's why. No, I'm joking.
Work construction.
People out there, okay? I love you all. But we had companies do meetings every month or whatever. So we were like, this month time for the meeting, we're all going to watch The Lion King, and it was great.
So no, I absolutely loved it. I thought that it honored enough of the original, was different enough. I was a little disappointed that Scar's song wasn't.
Do you know what?
Badass,
it's the only song. It
the only
wasn't.
one.
No lime green shit anywhere. That's how you know the Disney bad guy. There's lime green stuff everywhere.
But honestly,
Or purple.
I noticed the CGI twice.
Yeah,
and I stopped both times and went, am I looking
Scar,
for it?
actually more, it's a CGI.
Once with Scar and once with the young cubs. They weren't moving as quickly as I've seen cats move and stuff as they're running around. But if these are my complaints, that's not a bad thing. Yeah. So
I might actually have to go see it with the kids.
Really the
I will probably end up waiting until it comes out on video.
Yeah,
I won't see it in theater.
Does shit still come out on video? Or are we just waiting on Netflix now?
I'm waiting for it. Well,
do you think that your kids are going to turn around to you when they're 13 and be like, Dad, what's this weird square symbol for the save icon on my phone whenever I save anything?
And I don't want to guilt you into anything, Dan, but The Lion King, the original Lion King, is the first movie that I ever saw in cinemas, and I can remember the moment of the sunrise coming up distinctly, as vividly as though it happened yesterday. And you're going to rob your children of that because you're a bad person.
So, Dan is a bad person.
Mm-hmm. I am. It's a well documented fact.
It's well documented that you're a bad person.
I think we've said it about 90 times on this podcast.
Yeah, you guys have. It's well documented by you guys.
So, anyway, the Lion King was good. I thought, again, I have no complaints. People were complaining all over the place. It was weird that their mouths moved. I had no problem with that.
Yeah, it's easy to complain about that stuff.
But they're not as expressive because they're CGI versus cartoon. And I'm like, yeah, that's the medium, guys. Get over it. Enjoy it for what it is.
Do you know what? They did right by going with the original Mufasa voice as well.
Yeah, they did right with Rafiki as well, right? Like, I don't know, man. I had nothing but good stuff to say about it.
I wanted Rafiki just to be a little bit more excited. In the first one, he's all like, "Wah!" and he kind of jumps around a bit. He wasn't as much like that.
I don't know. I thought that him standing on the tree and like yelling up to the sky at one point was, I'm like, yeah, I could see a baboon doing this.
Good. And how he just like creepily watches him when he's like going around.
Yeah.
It was good.
Cool. A lot of fun.
Pumbaa as well. He's like, you grew 400 pounds in the time you sang the song. Brilliant.
Oh, I guess we're just gonna freestyle this now then, hey?
Yeah.
Fuck, the movie's good, and the fact is we're quoting shit that wasn't in the original that is worth quoting,
yes.
Right? And so I don't know, that's a good movie to me.
Cool. How does it compare to the live action Aladdin?
Didn't see Aladdin.
Didn't see the live action Aladdin yet.
My brother really liked Aladdin too. He said that it wasn't too Will Smithy, which everyone complains about. I think a lot of people just need to be outraged. People just need to be outraged. Honestly, you want to know the next thing that I'm going to see?
What?
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's got like an 80 plus on the Rotten Tomatoes on the tomato meter.
Is it already out?
Yes, it's come out already, and apparently it does horror right. It's not jump scares, it's creep factor. And if you read those books and you saw that art, you know that's what those books are.
That was a series of books?
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. What was your childhood, Daniel? Good God. Yes, those were the original horror, scary, like, short stories. No, short stories. For tales of
those things, yeah. Okay, yeah, fair enough, yeah.
If I were to pull up
so it's like campfire stories and stuff like that?
If I were to pull up a picture of the cover, you'd be like, yes, that was in the library, and I was too scared to touch that book when I was a child.
No, I love the horror medium and always have.
So do I. But I was terrified when I was 8 years old to go near those books. Do you really not know what I'm talking about? Half of the internet's like screaming, like, oh my god, those are the most terrifying. Oh, fuck it, I'm looking up the art. You guys go, what are we doing today? I'm looking up art.
We can start the episode if you're ready now.
Yeah.
We've already had a rant, so maybe we don't have any more rants left in us.
I'll find a way.
Don't doubt us.
Right. Today, chaps, we are going to be discussing... Turn your contrast up on your TV, the Feywild. But let's roll that bass line.
Welcome to It's a Mimic with your DMs, Adam, Dan, and Terry.
And just to annoy Adam. And we're back.
Fuck.
Welcome to the It's a Mimic Show. I will be your Dungeon Master this week. My name is Terry. To my left, à ma gauche.
That would be me. I'm Dan.
And to my right,
hello.
It's Adam.
Adam. This is Adam.
It is not hello like Hodor. It is Adam.
So, chaps, we're going to talk about the Feywild this week.
All right, hold on. Do you recognize this art?
Oh, yeah.
Scary Stories Telling the Dark.
Man, that's creepy. Actually.
Yeah, this is the actual... I don't know if you would have had this.
I think I owned that
but
somewhere.
It's... Yeah, Scary Stories Telling the Dark. It was a series. Even more scary stories. More scary... Like, there was like 6 or 7 of these books. Maybe not that
dude,
many.
No, I've definitely seen those, yeah.
And that's a movie coming out?
And this is the movie that's coming out. And
nice.
like, oh, man, I'm so into it.
Or that is out.
Or it's out right now. Right? Look. They are faithful to the art.
Oh.
I'm on board.
Right? Doesn't that look fucking awesome?
This is an audio
so
medium.
You and I need to go together, is what you're
This
saying.
is an audio medium.
So, but the point that I'm trying to make is that it is so, I don't know, it ties into the Feywild for me because it's so distinct visually, and you know what you're getting into the moment you get into it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're not confused. I mean, as much as the Feywild is confusing, I know when I walk into the Feywild and all of a sudden I see like, oh, there's a person over here doing this.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. Fuck, I'm in the Feywild. God damn it.
It's happened again.
Right.
Well, let's tell the people about the Feywild.
Okay.
So, with the way the episode's going to work, guys, I'll run through a little blurb about the Feywild. We'll talk about what it is, what's involved there, what you're going to see, and then we'll go into more detail one at a time, and then we'll start to talk about creatures, campaign ideas, and all that good stuff that everybody listens for, okay? But for those of you at home that don't fully understand what the Feywild is, I've taken some of this directly from the Dungeon Master's Guide, so if you want to go back and see it again, you can see it again, but I'll lay it out crystal clear for you. So the Feywild, also called the Plane of Fairy, is a land of soft lights and wonder, a place of music and death. Remember that part. It is a realm of everlasting twilight with glittering fairy lights bobbing in the gentle breeze and fat fireflies buzzing through groves.
Say that again. Flat flyer flies.
I just shotgunned a beer before we did this episode. It's how I get the lady balls up to do this stuff. The sky is alight with, I almost said eye. The sky is eye with faded colours and an ever-setting sun, which never truly sets or rises. It remains stationary, dusky and low in the sky, away from the settled areas, ruled by the Seelie Fae, which we may touch on a little bit later, that compose the summer court. The land is a tangle of sharp-toothed brambles, syrupy fens, perfect territory for the unseelie Fae to hunt their prey. Basically, team, what the Feywild is a mirrored plane of the material plane. So geographically, it can look almost identical, but everything in it is much more exaggerated or mirrored slightly differently. So, for example, you could have a ruined castle where there's nothing but ruins, but in the mirror plane of the Feywild, it could be a beautiful, tall castle with an archfey. Or you could have a
like the mountain ranges look the same, but,
mountain ranges
in the Feywild, one of them is a volcano, or shit like
exactly,
that.
Or vice versa, or like a dried up stream, maybe like a beautiful river. You know,
it is life unfettered.
It is.
Yeah.
So that's why we make the joke of turning the contrast up on the TV. Everything feels a little bit warmer, feels a little bit more buzzy. The fireflies are fatter, you know. The sound of water is almost like operatic in how it flows. But there is some optional rules with the Feywild as well. So Feywild is its land, and the land itself is inherently magical. When a party or an individual returns from the Feywild, this is up to the DM whether or not they want to impose this, but they may experience memory loss. So standard DC 10 Wisdom saving throw for it.
They may experience what?
Memory loss.
Oh, I must have missed that the first time.
No, you were there.
What?
You don't
What?
remember this?
Fuck.
I just said it a minute ago.
Said what?
They may experience
It's going to be the
memory
most frustrating
loss.
episode ever, dear.
It will be. I can sense it. I'm so glad I
Who are
DM'd
you
this
people
one.
and why are you in my house?
Exactly. So as a DM, we're already starting to think about ideas that we can include in our campaign using the natural magic of the Feywild. There's also something called the Feywild Time Warp, which is, hey, what's that movie with Matthew McConaughey where he plays the southern guy?
Sahara.
All of them.
He's the astronaut. You know what I'm talking about. He goes to the planet. Interstellar. It's actually a pretty good movie, actually. Interstellar, for those who've seen Interstellar, the time is a little bit different, okay? 1 hour on Earth is, or 1 hour on that planet is 7 years on Earth. These are the types of rules that you can implement now with the Feywild as well. So, a person's child may be snatched from them when they're 7 years old. They may return a week later in the child's eyes that they've been out to the Feywild, but the parents are now 89 or something. So, time warp again, something you can play with during your campaign. But, team, why don't you guys know a lot more about the Feywild than me? So why don't we roll initiative and we ourselves can put our individual touch on what we? I'm getting there. I haven't finished my sentence.
Oh, I didn't know if you'd already said this, and I just didn't remember.
We can put our individual touch on what we expect to see in the Feywild, both as DMs and players from either side. What's the experience going to be like? You ready? Reach over my Microsoft laptop there, Dan. Well, I rolled a 1, so I'll see you next week.
I got a 7.
I'm going first.
Adam got a 12.
So you remember what we're talking about?
Yeah, we're doing bullywugs.
Yeah,
Buckle up.
No, that was several weeks ago.
All right, so Terry, what are we doing here?
You can talk about anything to do with the Feywild setting. What you expect to see or put in as a DM, but also how the players are going to view it as well from their perspective.
Okay, so one of the things that I absolutely love to do with the Feywild is have... so, you know in Magic there's summoning sickness? You know, you play a card and it comes in tapped?
Yeah, Magic the Gathering, like Magic card.
Yeah. I like to do a very similar thing as a DM, and I encourage others to do this as well, where if you guys remember, you went to the Feywild in my campaign, and the map that I dropped on you was just bizarre bright colors with no real definition. I just scribbled with colored pencils all over the map, and you didn't really have any definition of what is this purple over here and what is this over there. And then I hit you guys with some quick moving enemies, and you were essentially blind, and you didn't know who was in there with you because you were on a ship with a bunch of people, and and you didn't know, or no, you were with a group of goblins.
Yeah.
That's what it was, and you didn't know who was there with you and what was around, and you could feel that some people were a little bit different. The gnome was suddenly more Fey-like, and we could talk about what that means a little bit later.
My dog was bigger, as I remember.
Yeah, your dog beefed up because they're more full of life. Yeah. And so I had a lot of fun kind of mixing that up a little bit, giving you what you don't really expect. And then after a certain number of rounds, your vision got better, and I dropped the real map on you, where all the colors are still in the same place, but you can see that because there was originally the mundane map, and there were trees and rocks and streams and shit, right? Mm-hmm. Then it was all wild colors. But it was exactly the same. If you overlaid the blind colors on top of the other one, then you would see that it's exactly the same as the mundane map, just slightly different and ill-defined. And then when I dropped the real one down, you could see that where it was a thicket over here, now it's bright pink rose bushes. And that's what that pink blob was. And you can see that it's giant yellow, like a giant yellow bush of like giant, like big, huge, 4 feet tall flowers that are all bright yellow, whereas you had seen daffodils in the mundane world, right? Mm-hmm. So when you pass in, I'm really trying to hit this idea that everything is more vibrant. You say turn the contrast up on your screen, and in my head I'm like, right, or drop just the right amount of acid. You want to just replace those magic mushrooms.
Amount of acid? One?
What, one acid? Yes.
Acid?
It depends if you're resistant to it or not.
Adam made a D&D reference joke there, Dan, but you didn't know because you were reading a book off to the side. Rudely so.
But I really like the idea of things just being a little bit like colors are neon, right? And they're high. Everything smells richer. It smells like honey and berries all the time in the good area, and it smells that sweet smell of death and rot, of flesh rotting in the negative, in the darkness of the Feywild.
Yeah,
right. I would say that the stars, you can see them all day. Right, and maybe there's one bright sun in the regular world. There's 4 dimmer suns that all seem to hover around each other and orbit each other in the sky all day. And every once in a while they'll move. Sometimes they go left, and sometimes they go right, and sometimes they go north. Compasses shouldn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. It also, I would pull in distance and mess with distance as well.
Absolutely. So same way, like if time dilates.
Yeah. So like something you see on the horizon in the real world, you would still see on the horizon of that spot where you came into the Feywild, but it might take you an hour to walk to, whereas it's days to walk to in the prime material plane.
How about this? I'll put it to both of you. Do the natural inhabitants of the Feywild, when you say the suns are going this way, they're going this way, and it doesn't seem to be any pattern, do they understand the pattern? Do they understand what to expect?
Yes, but let's talk a little bit more about the mentality, I guess, later in the episode. But I would say that yes, they know which way the castle is, and it has nothing to do with where the suns are. It's because things taste sweeter when you're in the shadow of the moss tree over here, and that means we're heading north, right? But honestly, if you eat a couple of these coconuts, then you will understand which direction south is for the next 17 and a half minutes. Oh. And it's that
It'd be nice to get a couple of coconuts every once in a while. Wouldn't it, Dan?
Yep.
Oh, no, my God.
Actually.
But that's...
Coconuts are disgusting.
That's the weird mentality of the Fae.
Yeah.
Right? And so navigating has got to be a little bit strange. It's got to be, I would say, you want to turn left at the big yellow flower. And then have bushes, all sorts of bushes with big yellow flowers all over them.
Right.
And then you have a tree in the shape of a big flower with the sun sitting behind it. And then you have a mountain covered in yellow flowers in the shape of a flower as well. And you're like, okay, which one of these are we using?
See, when you said just the right amount of acid, we're not quite full Alice in Wonderland.
No.
Just yet.
Not
we're back
quite,
a bit where we're kind of heading the same direction.
You can use the right you can use the wrong logic in the right ways to figure out where you're going. And the thing that I like about time dilation 2 from a DM's perspective, is you guys ever drop a character, you're like, oh, okay, there's a 14-year-old squire, and one of the characters loves this. One of your PCs loves this NPC.
Yeah.
And takes them along, and they're like, when can I give him levels? And when can I get him in combat? And when can I really teach him? And and you're like, well, he's freaking 14. He's never going to have more than 12 hit points.
Yeah.
Leave him behind, go into the Feywild, come out, now he's 40. He remembers you from his childhood. He's got 6 levels in fighter. He's got a grizzled war veteran missing an arm, right? And he's ready to go. And you guys see the show Reboot, where we had the 2 different versions of Enzo in the later seasons? That kind of shit, man. That's what I'm talking about with time dilation. I'm super excited about the 2 different versions of NPCs that are left behind.
Yeah.
That being said, take the mounts and pets with you and have them do fun stuff. Oh, your horse is a unicorn here.
Yeah.
Right? Your dog can speak. There's every animal in the Feywild speaks. But my question for you guys is, if your ranger is good in forests, because most are, and they get into the Feywild forest, are they better in there, or does all this shit not work anymore? Their favorite enemy, their natural terrain, and all that.
I would still apply it. In fact, like when I think of the Feywild, I think I kind of think of Narnia. Like I get very Narnia feels. With
Neverland.
Neverland. Neverland was like small local little island, but the same like Neverland from Hook, where like they're slipping down the one like mountain where they were covered in snow, and then as they're slipping down, they're instantly in like dense mud, and then instantly in tropic ocean. Right?
My problem with that
level thing.
I hear where you're coming from, and for the most part, I think that makes a lot of sense. But still, by the time that you are 2/3 of the way through, let's take the Narnia movie, because I'm looking for visuals here, right? So books aside, you get the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe movie, and you look at it, and they're standing in the forest or in the field talking and whatnot, and you look around, that just looks like a fucking field. It's not fantastical enough. The lion can talk. There's cool freaking lampposts in the middle of snowy areas. We have a freaking fawn, right, walking around, which is as close to a satyr.
You have Mr. and Mrs. Beaver. You have talking animals. And like you have the Cold Ice Queen, which to me like is an archfey from the Unseelie court, right? Like
sure, absolutely. But the flowers still look like flowers.
Yeah.
The trees still look like trees. And I'm talking environmentally, it doesn't sink to me.
So I'm thinking more like Oz, the flowers in Oz that put you to sleep on the way to the Emerald City, sort of like that.
Yeah, but again, even more so. I want to ramp the shit up past 11 up to 18.
Well, it's like Alice in Wonderland and Narnia had a baby. Right? It's not quite Alice in Wonderland, but it's a little bit more than Narnia.
I think some parts could be Alice in Wonderland. And I think some parts could be Narnia, too, depending on where you are. But I think it should be fluctuating and freaking weird the whole time.
And I also think, like, different areas of the Feywild. Like, when I do the Feywild, I like to embrace... so, nature in D&D is neutral. Like, it's...
unaligned.
Unaligned.
In 5th edition.
Specifically unaligned. And I like to ramp up the neutrality of it. So... and
I love the idea of ramping up the neutrality. Everything is more beige than it was before.
It's not like more beige, but like it's
more that when you're saying ramp up neutrality, I'm thinking instead of saying being neutral as in you don't have a preference, it's more that it truly does not care about your preference.
Exactly. Right.
Exactly.
And like everything from the smallest blade of grass to the largest of the archfey has no craps about anything about what it wants to do. So,
but
like,
that goes
so I go with my frame of Narnia in mind. Like I've got fawn, and say there's a fawn or a satyr who's running around, and like satyrs can be very base creatures. They can be very overly sexualized creatures, all about passion and lust and all this other stuff. Lust in more than just the sexual ways, but like. They could be about that.
They're about desire.
They're about desire. But, like, that desire could be towards knowledge or something. So you have this one satyr who just wants all the books or something like that, right? And is collecting books. So I would ramp up the neutrality where someone who is also your ally one moment could be an enemy. And someone who's your enemy one moment could be an ally.
Well, what's interesting is because I don't see it as unaligned. A wolf in D&D, in the regular and the mundane world, is unaligned. It doesn't have an opinion. It has base instinctual needs. However, in the Feywild, now it's actually true neutral, and it's selfish, and it has its own needs. And I think that's the difference.
That's why I was saying, like, ramp up the neutrality.
Yeah, away from unaligned.
Away from unaligned.
Okay,
yeah. So like, I would really emphasize the fact that nature is king in the Feywild, and every single thing about nature is going to be amped up to the nth degree in the Feywild. So there's also a couple other key components of the Feywild that you really need to pay attention to. There is the fact that the Seelie and Unseelie court are things and how they play out. I think we're going to talk about that maybe a little bit more in depth a little later, but just to go over it now, like, they're not the good court and the bad court. They're the...
Well, it's funny because they use the phrase, and this is not in the D&D lore, but people online, instead of it being a black and white morality scale, they call it the blue and orange morality scale.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
And so it's not that it is good or bad, it's that it's opposing. If you look at a color wheel, blue and orange are on the opposite sides of the color wheel. Mm-hmm. So they're opposing. There's blue is on the dark spectrum and the cold spectrum, and orange is on the light and the warm spectrum. And that's kind of where it sits, blue being the Unseelie court and orange being the Seelie court.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's a radically different mentality. As a DM, it's fucking challenging to get into that headspace.
It really is. And, like, you can't just make everything fickle and lustful and wild. You gotta really put a lot of thought into not just your characters and your monsters and your NPCs, but you have to put a lot of thought into environment when you're doing the Feywild as well. And everything's got to be bigger. Everything's got to be more expansive and more intentional with it, right? But everything is expansive with intention. So, like, thick vines with thorns spinning around, which in the real world might be a rose bush, like you mentioned, but in this world is a massive vine and thorn and vine palace with a nest of dryads sitting on the inside, right? Like, you got to pull on that. So that's me. Like, I like to ramp up the neutrality. Something you talk to is going to help you in 1 minute if it wants to. Other things won't, right? There's a lot of, if you read into Mordenkainen's, when it kind of talks about Eladrin and how those guys play into the Feywild as well, there's a lot of, they are incredibly reliant on their own laws and their own rules and everything else, but those rules change, and it makes complete sense to them.
Okay, all right, so here's a couple of examples for those that are confused, because we're getting the generality.
Yeah.
One of the big things that is standard in Fey, and this is from the British Isles, the Celtic and the Germanic and the Anglo-Saxon lore and whatnot, is if you have a Fey creature that offers to feed you in its own home, and you eat, you are now beholden to do them a favor, and you are not allowed to say no.
Yeah.
Period. If you sit down and eat with them, if you accept their food, you are beholden to them. Another thing is, you have power over any creature that you know the true name of. So if someone walks up and says, yeah, hey, my name is
Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah. And that's exactly what that's from, right?
Yeah.
But they won't say Rumpelstiltskin. They'll be like, hey, my name is Strix. And you'd be like, oh, hi, Strix. But that's not the real name. That's the name they go by. Mm-hmm. Because if you know it, then they can't harm you. They've got to do what you say within reason, kind of like the charm spell, right? Because you're consistently using their name and they shrink back every time they hear it. And, like, there's weird powers to the Feywild, and I find that for DMs, a lot of the fun is creating these rules and dropping the hints. Mm-hmm. And for the players, a lot of the fun is learning the rules and abusing the shit out of them when you get your hands on.
Well, and it's things like
trying to find the loopholes like we do in anything.
Yeah.
Almost every Fey will love a gift of some way, shape, or form, and usually it's the most bizarre thing. Like, they'll want an acorn cap that is shaped a funny way, or something like that, instead of a pile of gold. Like a pile of gold that mundane treasures are mundane to them. They don't want them. They want things that are weird and unique and full of life.
Well, yeah, but I will run it a different way as well. Buttons are not something that they make themselves. They don't see buttons on a day-to-day. These are weird, interesting. Look at how funny these humans are, right? With their crazy, mundane items. And then you're like, oh, and I also have a wand of detect magic. Like, so?
It's magic.
Yeah, fucking trees can do that, man. Like, fuck off, right?
100%. Like, you can almost imagine, like, the fey creatures dressing up in what they think the mundane folk would wear.
That would be so funny, yeah.
And, like, the satyr is, like, he's like, good morrow. He's trying to, like, fit in.
Put into your games a Feywild festival that is the material plane festival, and everyone dresses up like they're in the material plane and
like
they go through life
fair,
like, like Renaissance fair.
Everybody like tapes their pointed ears down to be around and shit.
Try and maintain their character.
Everyone like tries to just seem dirty and like gruff with everything, and
like have like battle reenactments where they have to use mundane stuff, like they're not allowed to use this inherent magic that they have.
That they drink like sweet wines and then act drunk, but they're fey. They don't get
totally
drunk. Yeah. They're like, I've had a wine. Shall we battle to the death?
Why, Strix, you're squiffy.
Terry, you rolled last. What do you got?
You know what? You guys touched on the warmer kind of elements of it, and Dan was talking about neutrality. I want to extend that neutrality over to the darker side of the Feywild, which I don't think is as apparent to newer players, especially because we think dark, we start to think like Shadowfell, where it's more. The Feywild is much more exaggerated, but I would say it's just more unforgiving in all of its ways.
Yeah.
When things can go, I think of, like the Swamp of Sadness from Neverending Story.
Yeah.
I think that's very Feywild to me. That is completely unforgiving. It's not like you walk in and you're like, this kind of
Hansel and Gretel's
Hansel and Gretel, yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
that's Feywild as well.
Well, that's a traditional hag.
Yeah, right? and I know we'll kind of touch on campaign settings and ideas later on, but that's something exactly what you can take from these fairy tales, right? So the Hansel and Gretel story. What the candy house? What is your metaphorical candy house that you're using in your campaign? And your witch being your hag, or who the children.
I assume that in your candy house, Terry, she's a beautiful woman dressed all in like fey leather with a licorice whip. Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, a bunch of Dan O'Coin furniture.
Much like,
about the place.
I wasn't going to go there, but
much like the
Feywild, your shit, Dan.
Much like the Feywild, sometimes our contrast is turned up, and I like them kind of sweet and candy-like, but much more exaggerated. And sometimes I like them kind of Shadowfell.
I feel like you're Two-Face from Batman Forever. The time of the
exactly.
He has a dark girlfriend and a light girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm 100%.
Yeah,
like 100%. I'm definitely like, I can't make my mind up. Anyway, but yeah, the darker element of the Feywild, I don't think new DMs should be scared to explore that. I think the Feywild seems very intimidating to newer players, but the comfort that I would give them is, geographically wise, it's basically the same plane. It mirrors the material plane, but all of those fantasy ideas, all of these crazy Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland type ideas, you can just pump into the Feywild. But you have those Feywild gates as well. You can get back to the material plane easily if you need to, and the gates can be as simple as a circle of mushrooms, jumping off a waterfall, walking into a lake. So it's very easy to come in and out of the Feywild if you need it to be for your campaign. If you need it to be harder, it can be harder. Dan, you're giving me a smirk.
Well, I get that scene from Beauty and the Beast in my head where, like, you have Belle's uncle, who I forget the name of, crazy old Maurice. He's sitting there and he's on his horse and he's riding through. No, uncle. His uncle.
I just said dad. I don't know.
100% his uncle. Anyways, he's looking down the path. And
you have young girls. I'm going to take your word on it.
To his right, he's got this nice, fully grown, brightly lit trail through the woods that is nice and safe. Yeah. And then to his left, he's got like the dark, decrepit trees that are arcing in.
It infuriates me that you said it to the left and raise your right hand, and to the right and you raise your left hand.
You did.
I'm playing to the crowd here. I'm talking to you.
This is an audio medium.
You're the crowd. You are the crowd. God. I talk to you every week, Adam.
This is an audio medium, Dan, for now.
So like you have the one side that is clearly the dark and evil path, and the other side that's clearly the bright and happy path, and you're sitting in the middle and looking down both, and it is like a harsh, sharp change into both.
Yep.
I find that could be a way to get the entrance into the Feywild.
I like the tunnel from Who Framed Roger Rabbit into Toontown as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, or Alice falling into Wonderland where she's getting smaller and the weird stuff's happening. She's falling for what seems like forever.
But I really like the idea of adding that summoning sickness. Get confused when you show up.
Yeah.
Right? One of the things that I think was really cool that I saw done in an online game was they swapped intelligence, wisdom, and charisma for strength, dexterity, and constitution.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, normally I see that on the astral plane because your mental stats or your attack stats and stuff there.
Yeah.
But for the Feywild, that really messed with some people. Like the wizard and the sorcerer and the bard are far more powerful now than the fighter and the barbarian, right?
Yeah.
So you're not any dumber than you were. You're just using different stats, like different modifiers now. Anyway,
You guys just talking about setting, and I was saying that newer players shouldn't be intimidated by the Feywild. It's just going to take a little bit more reading, as simple as a couple of pages to get a general idea for a couple of encounters there,
or a podcast episode,
Weird. Where would they go for that?
Exactly. But what are your thoughts on it? Do you think, you guys have been playing for longer than me, do you think that you should hold off before you go to the Feywild and use that setting, or do you think it's something you dive into?
As a new player?
Yeah.
No, I would hold off on it. I would dip my toe if I'm like a new DM. I would dip my toe in it. It would be if I want to dip my toe into extra planar travel in my game. It's going to be the Feywild, or it's going to be like Avernus, like top level hell, right? It's not going to be to the weirder stuff. You're not going to the City of Brass. You're not going to Pandemonium. You're not going to...
You need to establish the norm before you break the boundary.
Exactly, right? And the best way, because the Feywild mirrors the material plane, it's going to be the best way to get your players... And like even the Shadowfell in some ways does the same thing, where you will be able to show your players how reality is being bent by showing them something that they know what reality looks like.
They need to be familiar with one version of it, right?
Before they go to the
you
next.
give them the presence of the abnormal, absence of the normal, they need to know what they're comparing it to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think we've touched briefly on it. You just mentioned it. As for DMs, like if you want to set your party off in the Feywild, there's nothing stopping you from literally just dropping your party in the Feywild because they hit a thinner part in the material plane in their forest jaunts.
On
and
the
now,
21st day of
whatever it was, right? Yeah. Like the moon has hit the sky just the right way that has created
like a big
thinner
pizza pie.
Where the veil between the two realms is at its weakest, and you cross through. Like there's nothing stopping you from doing that. And now you've got a mission, 3 or 4 sessions inside the Feywild where your party's trying to get out.
And the other thing that I would say, I love that. But the other thing I would say is that a good opportunity to use the Feywild is when a player comes to you and says, hey, you know what, I'm tired of my character, I don't want to play them anymore. But you're not ready to kill them. Mm-hmm. It doesn't warrant it. You got some random encounters. You're fighting goblins for the next 6 sessions, and you're like, this is a mundane bullshit way to do this. Lose them into the Feywild. Go there for a half a session. It gets a little bit weird, and then they were never heard from again. And then they could pop up later because of all the time dilation. Mm-hmm. They can be whatever fucking level or age you want them to be, and they could have had wacky adventures or no time has passed.
Exactly.
But losing them into the Feywild is very much like so-and-so got up one day and he crossed the bridge and didn't make it to the other side. Mm-hmm. No one saw them leave the covered bridge. That's it. And we just never heard from him again. And 150 years later, he walks out.
There's actually a funny thing you could also do if your player...
This had better be hilarious.
...is specifically an elf. You drop them in Arvindor, which is where the Celadrine, which is the elven court of gods, reside. It is a mirror realm that is nestled next to the Feywild and whatnot.
Is it like one of these pocket universes, like the Curse of Strahd?
Kinda, yes. Except it was created by Corellon himself.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And every single elf, based off lore, every single elf has memories of Arvindor and is driven to go to Arvindor. It is basically, if you're looking into your Lord of the Rings, it's the
Grey Havens.
It's the Grey Havens, right? It's that kind of thing. A lot of people also say Evermeet is kind of the same way, and it is, but it's less ramped up. Arvindor, if an elf is there for as little as a week, they will not want to leave. right? Just that is just the way it is, and is passion ramped up. If you are a Warhammer player, they are the Dark Eldar. Like everything is just passion and excess everywhere you go, and that is what the Arvindor is, and it's very Feywild like. Nature and everything is also ramped up. Everything's bright and beautiful, but it's like the Feywild if the Feywild did acid. So it gets even worse.
For those of you that didn't pick that up, Corellon, it is the big Papa Daddy of all
elves,
all elf gods.
Yeah. Groomsh, who's the big Papa Daddy of all orcs, and Corellon were fighting. Groomsh injured Corellon. He bled, and from his blood came the elves.
Yeah.
God damn.
So anyway,
Elf Daddy.
Sure. Do you guys want to cut to commercial?
Yeah, let's cut to commercial as you guys are done. Let's do it right now.
Are you interested in advertising or becoming a sponsor on our show? Email us at info@itsamimic.com.
Hey, hold up, wait. Before we get back to the regular show, I, DM Dan, need to warn you loyal listeners about the impending cosmic horror on the horizon. It's September 2019, which means we're less than a month away from the elder god Nyarlathotep breaking free from his arctic slumber and wreaking chaos and madness upon the world. 5 unsuspecting citizens will enter Radiance Yukon before the sun sets for 37 days, but not all of them will survive to see it rise again. As darkness descends on the sleepy town of Radiance in the Canadian North, and the baleful howl of unknown monsters carries far and wide on the frigid winter winds, join me, Terry, Adam, and 3 others in an actual play series as we go back in time to 1922 and crack open the Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. There'll be 10 episodes as we count down to Halloween, and I can promise you cultists, bloodshed, body horror, murder, oppressive doom, and inappropriate laughter. Stay tuned for the end of September, when I, Daniel, the keeper of arcane secrets, use the most sinister of tabletop role-playing games to bring you the disturbing and twisted tale that I like to call The Deep Dark of Radiance.
And we're back. Topic 2. Well, we've talked about the setting of the Feywild a lot, and I think hopefully we made the peeps at home feel a little bit more comfortable with it. But can we talk about the creatures that are involved with the Feywild?
Sure.
Adam, I believe that you have a list.
It's a short list. For 5th edition,
we're not going to be here for very long.
No, it's a short list. It's a small list, and most of the creatures on it are also small. You're also going to notice that there are some that are obviously missing, and we can talk about that in a second as well.
Sure.
But here it is. Starting from the lowest CR to the highest CR, we've got the Boggle, the Blink Dog, the Pixie, the Sprite, Darkling, Satyr, Dryad, Quickling, Meanlock, Hags, Redcaps, the Yeth Hound, the Kored, and the Eladrin. And that's it. That is all they give you in all of the 5th ed lore.
This is like just Feywild football teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't even have
which football? Handball or
armored wank ball?
Armored
gridiron.
Still love that it's called gridiron.
But honestly, where
I love armored wank ball. That's one of my favorite sports, by the way. So that's what. Anyway, go on. Oh, you were done speaking?
No, I really wasn't. I was just going to make it awkward because fuck you guys. So the idea that I'm missing here is there are off the top of my head, we have nothing in the way of elves, gnomes. There's just standard coming.
Yeah.
Like, we know they got Fey ancestry. We know that Corellon frickin' lives here. But where are the elves and where are the gnomes? Where are the awakened shrubs and trees? I feel like every other tree's got to have a personality and talk to you.
Yeah.
Where are the Mauryans? Right? And most importantly, where are the goddamn fairies?
Yeah.
Right? I feel like we need to see all sorts of any sort of plant monster needs to be here as well and super powerful.
Yeah, there's arguments for a lot. I mean, unicorns. I know they're classed as celestials.
Fairy dragons?
Right.
Like,
with Pegasi on there? Pegasi?
Nope.
I would argue Pegasi as well.
I'd put Pegasus in here. I'd put Pegasus. I'd put hippogriffs and things like that should be in Feywild.
Yeah. Right, and I would have manticores part of the unseelie.
Yeah, manticore. Yeah.
Right, and so there are definitely things that I'm missing here.
Even to a lesser degree, like, why are Yuan-Ti not present? Like, if elves are going to be present for the Seelie, why are Yuan-Ti not present for the Unseelie.
Well, I would put see they're lizard brained, right? So I feel like they're not. But I mean, drow. I mean, why the fuck not drow?
Drow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It feels a little bit strange to me.
And there is an Underdark in the Feywild.
The Feydark.
It is where all of the Fomorians live.
Yeah,
Right,
but is that in the 5th ed lore, or
Yes.
is that just
That
It
is
is,
that is in the 5th.
It's in the monster manual?
No, it's in Mordenkainen's.
Oh, it's in Mordenkainen's.
Yeah.
For Mauryans or Mordenkainen's?
There's a section of them of the Feywild and whatnot in Mordenkainen's, and Fomorians are mentioned there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, there were just some things that I went, where are they? Now, Dan, you said something about fairies,
Yeah,
specifically.
so
I'm looking for fairies in the monster manual, and
So the word fairy doesn't really pop up very often in Dungeons and Dragons 5th
unless you're
edition.
going across a river.
Unless you're going, like you're taking a ferry. But where
Don't you dare. Don't you fucking dare.
That was all for you, Dan.
Don't you dare.
I'm sorry, what is it called? A
Dan.
furry? Is it a furry?
Fairy is fairy, depending on how you spell it.
Yeah.
And then fairy is Ferry. Dan, say fairy as in Tinkerbell.
fairy,
Now say fairy as in...
Fairy.
Fairy?
fairy,
Fairy.
You were saying it the same way, Terry. I swear to God. I'm with you 90% of the time on this shit.
Listen
I was
to
with
me.
you with the Harry Potter stuff.
Listen to me. Tinkerbell. Fair. As in
Fair.
something is
It's
fair.
fairy,
okay?
yeah.
Fairy. Fairy. Fairy.
Fairy.
Yeah, there you go.
But no.
Fairy.
Fairy. The Ferry. You're saying fairy.
Not fair.
No,
Fa.
fairy.
Fairy.
Fuck, I'm not going to get this either. God damn.
Fairy. Fairy.
All right.
Okay, so the word doesn't pop up in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons in terms of creatures, but what it does pop up in is what the elves call the Feywild. It is the fairy. It is
How do you spell it?
Fairie.
Fairie.
Yeah.
The fairy.
It is the fairy. So it is straight up what the elves call it.
Not
And-
Faerie.
And a lot of the people that come from it are of the fairy, so they are fairies. That
Because
is
they're
kind of-
more fair.
they're more fair,
creatures.
right? So that is where the word fairy comes in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, which I love, and that's in Mordenkainen's.
That's fun, but I would like to have freaking fairies. You know that there are going
You
to
have
be people that want
pixies and
to.
sprites and stuff, and
Yeah,
that's
but
where they are.
There are people that are going to want to be fairy princesses, right? In this, and I
Then
feel
be an
like
elf. Sorry.
not the same, right? And I just feel like I like that as lore. I just feel like it's missing in 5th ed. I know that when I started playing 3.5, I went hunting for fairies and couldn't find any in the.
Yeah.
I'm also missing brownies, honestly, in 5th edition. But that's just me. Speaking of the
What
lore
is
club,
a brownie? I know what a food brownie is.
have you ever seen Willow?
Okay.
With
They're
Why
like
did you ask me that?
ground dwelling.
Because now the internet's going to be annoyed. No, I've never seen Willow.
That's okay. That's
No, it's not.
Starring-
okay. It is not okay.
Starring Warwick Davis.
Warwick.
No. Oh my god.
That's a solid line of red.
All right, so
No, but brownies.
Warwick.
There's also the other more mischievous. Well, gremlins. Gremlins should be from the Fae as
Gremlins,
well.
yeah.
and there's no gremlins listed anywhere. Right?
No, there's not. And brownies are ground dwelling Fae.
Yeah, you would.
They don't have wings.
They're essentially like pixies that are a little bit, but they're halfway between a pixie and a red cap. I would say. I mean,
Like
maybe.
when you're doing this, and I wanted to bring this up when you mentioned the Unseelie, the dark side of the Feywild.
Yeah.
You really dive into your Celtic myth, your Celtic lore, your ancient Celtic religions and stuff like that as well as your Grimm fairy tales, like
Yeah.
you mentioned. Like dive into both of those because both of those are rife with fairies. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from is Celtic lore, right?
See,
like leprechauns and stuff like that come from there. And
Sorry, Dan. Are Myconids considered Fae?
no, but
from the Fey Dark?
I think you should find them in there.
Yeah.
no, they're
The
considered.
Fey Dark,
they're
yeah.
they're plants, right?
well, Zugmatoy sometimes goes to the Feywild and comes
Yeah.
back, right? Like she jumps back and forth. And
for
she's
those of you at home that don't
she
know.
is the demon prince of fungus.
Yeah.
right.
Princess?
Princess. Yeah,
I guess.
Princess?
Yeah.
But no, I think that do fungi have genders or do they just?
No,
Yeah. Okay.
no, they
Myconids don't have
spew
genders.
spores and those.
Yeah. But no, I look. The thing about the Feywild and the Fey specifically is I feel like we need to have permission written somewhere, and I mean you do. Everybody homebrews,
Yeah.
But you need to be able to have permission to do things like make... One of my favorite things is... I can't remember what Matt Colville called them. Gutter pixies or sewer pixies or something. They keep the streets clean in cities. And they are little garbage. They sit in dumpsters and garbage cans. They live out and they like pick up garbage and they eat garbage and they make their houses out of garbage. But that's why there's no... chamber pots, that are emptied of second-story windows. The roads are not covered in shit.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are these gutter pixies. Don't piss them off, but they're around
chucking
all the
shit at
time.
you.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
and like I would also pull into things like the cobblers, like
The Cobbler Elves, like
the Cobbler Elves, right? Like the those ancient stories of the ancient small elves. Like if you're thinking like living
Keebler
in
elves.
you're thinking living in a tree baking cookies. You're thinking Fae. You're not thinking like Dungeons and Dragons typical elf.
Well, besides that, those are inherently Fey as well. But
yeah, I know, but like the size and everything included, right? Like they're small, they're minute, they're mischievous.
This is why I say you have my permission. Those of you listening at home, Adam said, the It's a Mimic podcast told you it is okay to come up with different kinds of pixies.
It is.
Different kinds of sprites, red caps even. I mean, red caps are pretty specific why they do the things they do. Well, they don't all have to look the same, right? They don't all have to use a sickle. You can get a little bit crazy. I love the idea of darklings and quicklings, and there's a lot of fun different bits and pieces out there. Guys, what are we rolling initiative on? For this one?
we got
Yeah,
we did a roll initiative. We all just kind of chimed in.
Yeah, we're just
we bet everything anarchy. This is the Feywild. This is what happens.
Yeah.
There's absolute anarchy. well, we can keep going if anyone wants to add anything else on creatures, but if not,
I am really curious as to why things like Fomorians and those things did not make that list you mentioned earlier. Like it's weird. Like Fomorians, yeah, technically they're giants, but they're giants of the Feywild, right? And the whole story about Fomorians, they're my favorite creature in the Feywild. I love their history, I love their backstory, I love their story. Why they didn't make the cut of that list is weird.
This may be because from a mechanical side, Fomorians, it may be more important that they're viewed as giants than anything else. If your favorite enemy is giants, if you're using something that only affects giants.
But if you're going into the Feywild and you've chosen that your favorite enemy is Fey, you would expect to be able to use your shit against them.
That's also true. That's also true.
And one of the things that they've done in previous editions...
This was a Pathfinder, funny enough, that did this really well as well, where if something was like a...
Fairy dragon?
A fairy dragon, it was Fey and a dragon, and all your bonuses.
That's what I was about to say. 3.5 did that. I can't remember fourth.
Oh, well, it essentially.
It would have two classifications.
Fourth did as well.
Did it?
Yeah.
Fifth ed seems to have gone a little bit simpler. One of the things I ran into this specifically with fairy dragons, and I was annoyed about it when I was running my campaign in the Feywild. I wanted them to be fairies. I wanted them to be Fey, right? And so I ended up coming up with my own strange rules for it. And what I did was I said that while they are in the prime material plane, their fairy dragons are dragon type. They have their breath weapons, and they've got their dragon type. Like if your favorite enemy is dragon, then that's fine. If they go into the Feywild, they inherently become Fey. And they talk about the difference. Are they of fairy or are they of dragon? And they actually spoke to the Dragonborn that was in the party and said... and the Dragonborn was sitting there going, I wish I had wings, and I wish I had a tail, and I was waiting for this opportunity to let my Dragonborn be more bestial and be more dragon-like.
Yeah, she did love that.
And I said, okay, well, the fairy dragons are going to teach you how to be less of man and more of dragon because you walk the line. And I think that there could be a lot of that. Fomorians are either of Fey or of giant. And depending on, if you wanted them to be of giant, maybe you have a Goliath that is going to communicate with them, or they're going to do things like throw rocks and different things that are typical giant kind of MO, or your modus operandi as a actual giant. You can have them be of giant, and then as a legendary action, maybe it takes them 10 minutes to become of Fey, where now they're more elemental based and they're better at the Underdark in some way or another. You flavor it yourself because it doesn't make sense at the base level that they're not both, right? And there are a lot of things like that. Eladrin are Fey, but they're not freaking elves. but they are elves.
They are elves,
But they're also, so they're not Fey. And what are we dealing with here? I think that you should have some things like treants that should be plant-based, and then in the Feywild can sprout more flowers or produce more fruit or get bigger or hardier. When they become of Fey in the Feywild, you max their hit points up to the maximum level, right? You give them a +1 to all of their social skills, and maybe give them a magical effect, like they can put shit to sleep, or they can inherently charm, or whatever it is.
Druidcraft or something.
Yeah, right? And that's kind of what I'm looking for out of the Feywild. The Feywild, in my opinion, is an underdeveloped part of 5th edition.
And you're right. And I think there's so much we can do with the Feywild that I don't think we should be afraid to do. I think it's, you know what you said earlier, like you have my permission to do this.
Yeah.
I think lots of times with players, I think with experienced players, they're scared to try something where it seems like, the rules are foggy, but the experienced players may judge that you have to do it in a certain way. And the new players, it seems so intimidating because it's not clear what the rules are, in air quotes, they don't want to do it.
And I think that places like the Abyss and the Feywild and Pandemonium and Limbo, these chaotic areas, even the Happy Hunting Grounds and shit, this is where you should start to dabble. If you've never gone to the planes before, go into these chaos planes and make them your own. Right? Mm-hmm. They all swing chaotic in one degree or another. Are we going to roll dice on this about favorite monsters, or do you want to get into that?
Well, we could talk about creatures and favorite creatures. Are you ready? Is this one yours?
Yeah, you grab mine.
Was this one mine? The pink one?
That is purple, but yeah.
Okay, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Is mine cocked?
That's
a nat 20 though.
No, it's cocked.
That was so cocked.
God damn it, now it's a 6. I still got in front of Dan. Terry, you're up first.
I'm going to go first. You know what I'm going to talk about? I'm going to talk about satyrs. And the reason I like satyrs is because we're talking about everything kind of wrapped up. They're like your traditional minstrel bards.
Because they're the horniest one out there.
That's not because
it is pure for waist down, right?
You guys are putting a bad light on me out on the internet, okay?
If anyone would own the BDSM furniture, it would be a satyr.
Yep.
It would be. My DMs are getting lit up with everybody just thinking I'm a gentleman, Dan, at all times, okay? And I don't know how to get out of this hole I dug myself. Satyrs. Satyrs, half man, half goat. And you were talking earlier about how they have this spin right now where it's that they're very lustful, and essentially they go from town to town shagging anything with tits in the pulse or cock in the pulse, whatever your preference is, right?
Sometimes both. Not my preference, but like satyrs' preference.
The person will have both?
No, like God, who cares? A satyr's in it for the experience. Yeah, they are driven by lust and gluttony. They're not slothful. They want to experience life to the fullest.
Right.
And I mean, you're pretty, right? And so they're into it.
Or it might be like one of you said earlier, Dan, it's all about knowledge. Oh no, I want all of the knowledge.
Yeah.
And for those impulsive character types like myself, where it's like, well, even you did it earlier. You made the pizza joke, and I went, oh, I want some fucking pizza. And I was like, and I want it right now.
You think satyrs have ADD?
Is that what you said? Do I know they had?
Do you think they do? Just a little bit.
I don't think it's ADD. I think it's impulse control. Okay. I think they would make very good heroin addicts. So don't ever try it, because if they try it, they'll want all of it, and that's what I'm like as well. I can't have one heroin; I have to have them all.
Can I have 6 heroines, please?
How many heroines do you have? I got these 6.
Just Harlequin ones.
Yeah,
that's right. I went there. Anyway, do you think you're talking about the satyr with the knowledge and the one all the knowledges? That is a great mid-level bad guy who is opening up an evil portal to like the far realms, because why wouldn't I? Do you guys have any idea how many tentacles are out there? I don't. I need to count them.
Yeah.
Right? And like I got this book. I don't know where I got it. I found it on an adventure. He didn't know I took it, but I got it now. So anyway, I have this book and I wanted to open up this portal. Page 73 says portal. I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything this weekend. What are you doing this weekend?
This is exactly as I imagine a satyr to be. Just like this. Exactly like you're speaking. But also that NPC we've talked about in the previous episode where it's like, are they the bad guy? I don't know if we can trust them or not. All I know is this person will give us the stuff that we need to go and finish and get our MacGuffin. But we probably shouldn't give them the book that they keep getting their eyes on, because we don't know what they're going to do with it. But great NPCs, reoccurring NPCs, very entertaining, can move your plot along because the players will be able to get what they need from them, but they're going to have to sacrifice something, and it's going to have a reoccurring effect later on.
I love the idea of a satyr being in the background of like the party meets satyr, and satyr hangs out with them and comes to their town, and it's kind of fun, and we'll give you some potions and some herbs and whatnot. And by the way, there's this like demons are coming into the realm, and no one knows why. And it's this guy. It's just like, well, I'm just reading the book out loud, guys. It's the Necrocomicon, right?
It is the Necrocomicon,
right? And he's summoning freaking neckbeards left, right, and center into the realm. Right?
Actually,
Well,
but he and it turns out that it's been your ally the whole time. When you turn around, you're like, "Hey, you are doing this. People are dying. You need to stop." He goes, "Oh shit! Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, here you take the book.
It would also
what do I get in return?"
first that whether you want that, and you don't want them to die. No, we don't want them to.
Yeah.
I'll close the book. Okay, I'll close the book.
All right. I'd be like, "All right, now give us the book." Why?
Yeah,
I already closed it. Right?
Yeah.
You don't need to.
this is a new deal that you're making now.
Exactly. And the only thing that I need are your shoes. Right? And that's
and the party shoes and everyone's right one. You can keep your left. I don't want the left. I just want the right one from everyone.
right, because shoes are all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to the satyr, and that's why I like satyrs. I think that's I mean, you guys met Rizkin. He was a horny little, but he was impulsive.
Oh, and
as
he
shit,
like
too.
metal sculpted like his long lost love with her. Just remember her massive tits.
Oh yeah, it was. It was an exaggerated version of his love.
Yeah.
Right.
Who herself was also a satyr.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But she thought
was
Rizkin was
stacked.
amazing.
Yeah, and yes, but then on her side of things, when you finally bumped into her because you bumped into him in the material plane, you bumped into her in the Feywild, and she had a statue of him with just this huge endowment. But like this thing was like 6 feet long, and it was this exaggerated version of it because that's the part they're interested in their mate,
Yeah.
right? And so that's really kind of where the Fae, I think, are coming from, specifically the impulse control issues.
Oh, and I just I relate to that wholeheartedly because that's just a daily battle for me all the time. So
Always crafting the next statue of giant bazumbas.
that's what I have.
This
to
is a
do.
mature podcast with mature themes.
It's really just anything. If anybody suggests anything, because I hate having to wait for things. If someone like creates an idea, and I'm like, yeah, let's go do that, and they're like, well, no, let's do it in 6 weeks. We'll plan for it.
As-
I'm like,
as
no
someone who
plan must do.
As someone who is DM'd for you, you are not wrong. Holy shit.
What for me and my impulse issues?
Oh yeah, because I will drop little bits pieces. There's an imp that shows up, and he's like, so I have this armor, and it's full plate armor, and you
There
get it,
you
and
go.
it's bright red. However, and you're like, no, I don't give a shit. Let me put it on, and then we'll talk. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
And you put it on. Now you can't take it off, and you get a level of warlock, and you owe me one.
Yeah.
And you, oh shit. Right.
Absolutely. And I always used to fall for those traps.
You are the player that devil's contracts are made for.
Exactly. There were times when I'd look at Adam as the DM and I go, I know what you're doing. I know 100% what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing it because I can't walk away from this right now. Yeah. I'm a sucker for items, magic items and stuff. Okay.
All right, so my answer, I'm going to be really quick and brief with this. I love the hags. Absolutely love everything
You
hags.
got me with hags as well, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I got everybody with hags. I got Dan, too.
You got me bad with hags. Yeah.
Yeah. Morgan.
Oh, yeah,
thing is,
you
like-
slept with a hag.
The thing is, like, we landed on this stupid, like, rock in the middle of nowhere in this world that you've created.
With
that
a
was just
coven of witches.
With a coven of witches. And, like, I turned to Adam and I go, they're hags. And he goes, you don't know that. I'm like, no, they're straight up, they're going to be hags. And this entire time I'm
Oh.
like, they're hags. They're going to be hags.
I'm
They're
not as
going-
smart as you, Dan. Adam was like, explains it, and then he goes, and here she is, and she looks like this. And I'm a human red-blooded male, okay?
I presented
can't-
like a picture of
Yeah.
of Nala.
I'm in my child creating years. I'm 31 years old. It was Nala. We just presented this
took you a
beautiful woman
second.
who was like exactly my fucking type as well.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I was like,
He presented
oh,
you
well.
a in-game goth girl.
I was like, oh well, she's incredible. Even though she's not real, I was like, no, this is gonna work. And that just reminded me of how much of a fucking nerd I am, that this made-up person in the world, I was like, yes, I will. Let's go. Get myself into trouble.
But you got in trouble. Then Dan, you were saying that you were convinced they were hags?
Oh yeah, I was absolutely convinced they were hags, and they were helping us out. And I'm like, all right, well, the hags
on the
are
good
of the
side.
Feywild, and they can be good. You ramp up the neutrality. If you're on their side, they'll back you up.
It's not even that. They don't understand why shit is bad. It is just not. It's just Here's the thing about
evil hags.
Yes, and they swing evil. But here's the thing about it is they will take your daughter and they will keep her. And the day that she turns 13, if they can warp her and commit the ritual, she will become one of them. She will turn into a hag. But she will the hag that stole her in the middle of the night will also drop a kitten in the crib. And you got a newborn for a newborn. What's the problem? Yeah. I need a human for this.
And it's evil. This is what I always say about alignment. It's evil according to who? Because to the hags, it's not.
But I think they would even say it's evil. Why does that matter?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I have my purposes for this specific child, so I'm going to take this specific child.
Yeah.
No, and I really love it. And then eventually we came to the point where I had to make... Where you got me was you had this other entity that was floating around with them, and you're all like...
It was bordering their lands.
It was bordering their lands. I'm like, oh, sweet. Yeah, this is like this Mother Nature character. Yeah, my character would... we need someone to make us the sacrifice play... to have this Mother Nature character play with us, and help us out. So yeah, my character will make the sacrifice play. That's not a problem.
But the sacrifice play was you taking her on as a patron for your warlock levels.
Yeah, and you started giving me the warlock levels, and then you flipped and you're like, oh yeah, all those hags. No, they're actually
that's the embodiment of their coven.
Yeah,
right. And so Dan was like, fuck. Now look what I've done. I've taken 2 or 3 levels in warlock.
I've got 3 levels in warlock,
and his patron is hags.
Oh.
Yeah, which is
marvelous.
Which is great. And there'll be times I'll be like, because there's these ways I could communicate with them. And I'm like, hey, so can we talk about this? No, wait until after this random point in time. Click.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need help. I need advice. You're a coven of hags.
Now that we're talking about Fae and hags specifically for patrons. Fae are phenomenal patrons to play into that patron. What the hell's the other word? Recipient mentality, right?
Yeah.
That story, because it doesn't get touched on enough. Fae would be amazing for that.
For those of us who all enjoy Critical Role, the Trickster, 100% is like an archmage. You got to be, right?
Yeah,
it's got to be. I don't think it's ever been clearly defined, but this god who's gets joy about its person going through and. Drawing dicks on things, because why the hell not, right? And pulling pranks on people, because why the hell
Wanksy.
not? Right? It's...
Love it. Did you just come up with that?
No, actually, I heard Wanksy was a guy that in his city, I don't know whereabouts in the world it was, everywhere there was potholes, he drew spray painted a massive dick around it to force the city to come and fix it.
I heard that it was Nazi swastikas. Right.
Oh, really?
Because that'll drag you in a lot faster.
Oh, maybe it was. I thought it was dicks, but either way, kind of was.
Yeah. So
I get it.
So what was? I love the pulling on hags, so that my character has now become entrenched with this coven of hags, and pull on the evil witchcraft part of it, right? Why the hell not?
I like it because they don't follow regular magic rules. They have their own weird fucking magic.
Yeah, and we brought up Banderhobbs in the
Bullywug episode. Speaking of Bullywugs, my favorite thing about Bullywugs is that when you can flavor them to be either frogs or toads, right? But they've got croakers, and why are you?
We're not talking about Bullywugs, Adam.
We already talked about
Feywild episode.
Since when?
Since an hour ago.
I'm because Adam's such an organized person. I'm looking at him like, are you fucking stupid? Dumbass.
Yeah, so you just fucking completely derailed my train of thought. I like hags. Let's move on.
Dan, you get to talk about what you like now.
I love Mauryans.
I like hags.
Look, no.
Are you pronouncing that correctly? Because we're not going to let you know if you're not.
It's Fomorians. Fomorian. They're not Formians, which are big ant things. They are giants who, at one point in time, way back in the days of yore, were
days of my what?
No. Fuck, Adam. God.
Wasn't your an actual time, though, and so it probably...
YORE? Yeah, I don't know what defines it. But anyway,
Internet.
Way back in the history of Dungeons & Dragons, they were the most beautiful intelligent, well put together giant race. Like they were
By well put together, you mean like mechanically, not just like well hung.
no, everything. They were the
Mechanically well hung.
Specific kind of giant, like stone giant, hill giant.
No, they were their own kind of giant, but they were perfect in every way, shape, or form.
So like Fey giants.
They were big Fey giants, right? And their story is that they had they were incredibly intelligent and incredibly magical in origins, and worked alongside of the elves when the Feywild was first getting started to really build the world and get that going. But where the elves and the like Seelie courts and the other Fey kind of descended into their own things, the Mauryans really wanted power, and they just kept on using this magical ability there to generate power. And eventually the elves were like, enough of this, guys. And there was a war that caused the Fomorians to their power to basically explode in their faces. They
Beat face.
No, their form twisted. Nice. They became cursed, like all Fomorians are.
Were they just naturally cursed, or was there an entity that cursed them?
Yeah, who cursed them?
Their magic going awry on them cursed them. They cursed themselves.
All right,
and they descended into the Underdark of the Feywild, which is where they grew and they built their own things. Fomorians exist in oddly beautiful caverns inside the Feywild or inside the Underdark,
like crystalline stalactites,
like crystalline, even like having structures themselves. They're giants. They're intelligent creatures. They will build these wonderfully artistic, mastercrafted structures that will just, by their presence of being around the Fomorians, decay faster because they have this curse that anything beautiful around them decays into ugliness, right? And that is why they are kind of the poster child for the unseelie side of the Feywild. They were once the most beautiful, and now they are the ugliest creatures. They have this wonderful mechanic as well called the Curse of the Evil Eye, which recharges after a short or long rest for the Fomorian. It's one of the only monster abilities I see that recharges this way. But it's with a stare, the Fomorian uses their evil eye ability, but on a failed save, the creature is cursed with magical deformities. So it could stare at you, and if you fail the save for its evil eye, which is just make a charisma save and take a butt ton of psychic damage, you get physical deformities that are magically put in. So while deformed,
you hang to the left.
Yeah, your speed's halved. You have disadvantage on all ability checks, saving throws, and attacks based off strength or dexterity. And you can repeat the saving throw whenever you finish a long rest.
Oh shit!
Only way to
That's
get rid of
rough.
Is there a way that it can be permanent?
I don't think there is.
There
a way
is for
to be
this
permanent,
dungeon master.
But yeah, why the hell not?
Physical deformities.
I would give it like if you fail 3 times, you got it now.
Yeah.
It's still there 3 days later.
Maybe
this reminds me of the Sybriacs being able to like warp.
Maybe a greater restoration will bring it back.
But on top of it, like they're still a CR8 giant. They will do 3d8 plus 6 if they hit you with their club, and they're very giant shaped. They're huge, bare chested, loincloth club. They look like the big dumb giant.
Well, they're large, purple.
They're
one-eyed
huge.
monsters. They're huge.
They're huge.
Well then,
they're huge purple one-eyed monsters. Yes.
Yeah, but that's not for everyone.
And they stare at you.
Because there's some ladies out
and when
there
they
that
stare
don't
at you,
like
you get physical deformities. Anyways,
your
I
stomach swells.
I wanted to ask if that was actually the best that Dan's ever swerved and dodged the stuff that we throw at him. He's just like, not this time, motherfuckers.
I fucking
Are they
try,
intelligent?
they have a 9 in their intelligence.
So that's part of their curse then.
Part of their curse is they have dropped, but they have a 14 wisdom. And their charisma, I think, is like a 12, which is funny for something so ugly.
Well, if you're a big
remember,
purple one-eyed monster,
charisma is not appearance based. Charisma is about how well you interact with other people and other creatures.
Sorry, they're charisma 6. Right, they're big ugly fucking things.
What's up?
Right, but it's
What's up?
It's not about ugly, and wisdom makes sense. A lot of creatures, even mindless creatures, have high wisdom because, again, it's not about being wise. We're just using the word from old holdovers. It's about how well you interact with the natural world and you understand your surroundings and environment, right? That's what wisdom truly is in D&D, right? So, and intelligence is all brain power, apparently, except for socials. And it should be brain power, surroundings or environment power, and then social power, right? That's really what the three are.
Yeah.
And you can see it here with the Fomorian as well.
Yeah.
But you're sitting here talking about these caverns. Do we talk about the Feydark at all?
We've mentioned the Feydark several
the
times,
Feydark,
but we haven't gone into detail.
I
on
absolutely
Feydark.
love the idea of like geode and crystalline ropers and some of the like dark mantles.
I
and
like
shit,
the idea
right?
of being in the Underdark and somehow passing through into the Feydark. So technically, you moved into the Feywild, and your players may not even be aware of it for the longest time because they've gone from gate to gate. In the
I love the
Underdark.
idea, and then all of a sudden, an orange worm comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
right. Like, and it's just fucking bizarre.
speaks to you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
Big
Okay.
orange worm breaks through the soil and goes, "What's up, chaps?"
Oh,
What?
Just the best.
What?
With like spectacles.
Yeah, like pulls out its monocle.
Yeah.
Over nothing. There's
my
no eye
cane.
because it's a worm, so it's blind, but it's like there's still a monocle sitting there.
No, I still like the idea of having spectacles resting on its brow,
Yeah.
without eyes. Anything else we want to touch on creatures before we do a shout out and move on to
No, I'm good.
campaign ideas?
Did what was you went first, right?
Yeah,
Satyrs.
I did
Satyrs,
satyrs.
that's what it was. Yeah,
Satyrs.
satyrs.
I feel like in England we don't say that word like that, but it's been so long and it wasn't a common word.
is it-
Satyrs?
No, it's satire.
I think it might. I think it might be
Like,
satyr.
satire is from the Greek.
Maybe I just can't.
base
Remember. I just
that
remember the
satyrs
first
is
time that
from.
you introduced me to satyrs in D&D, and then showed me the picture. In my mind, I went, "That's not what I thought that was. I thought that was something else." But
You
I
think
can't remember.
fawns?
Nah, something. That, I
Do you
don't know.
guys just have one of those like weird slang things, like it's a wibbly wobbly goat man, or like whatever?
Hey, wibbly wobbly goat men are dangerous. Okay, you gotta watch out for them. You gotta watch out for them.
Anyway.
motherfuckers. Anyway, let's do our shout out. Okay, so shout out for this week. We do some really, really good accounts with quality content and interesting stuff, but sometimes I just like stupid shit that makes me laugh. Okay, and I'm already downplaying this account. But my
Why you're friends
shout
with
out.
Adam? Sorry.
Rusty styrofoam.
My shout out this week for Instagram handle @dankdungeonmemes. Okay, it's just a lot of dumb but very clever D&D memes, and sometimes that's all I need in my day when stuff's getting hard, and it's just D&D memes that come up there that I
And
get
they
a
have a
giggle
shit
out
ton
of.
of posts. You can
And
go
they
back
got a
and
shit
go
ton of
through 'em,
posts.
yeah.
They got a shit ton of posts, and they do. My memes tend to follow the similar kind of format. They do all kinds of different memes, so whatever your flavor is. Dank Dungeon memes. I found them to be one of the best. I always get a laugh just about every day, and they post often as well. Dank Dungeon memes posts at least 5 times more than I do. So @Dank Dungeon memes Instagram, check it out. Okay, team. Next topic. Let's talk about campaign ideas that we can use with the Feywild. Okay, because the Feywild, there's so many options and it's so broad. I'll let you guys decide which direction you want to go with it. But how can we better use the Feywild in our campaigns? Are you ready? Let's go. Oh, you tried. You fucking tried. I rolled a natural 20, by the way, and Dan tried to knock it off, but it's not very good.
And I got
sport,
half that much.
and he missed. Well, there we go.
I got a consistent 6, just like last time. So at least I'm consistent.
Yes.
Well, we'll end on a high note. There we go. Harry, you're up.
Sure. You know what? I was talking earlier about how the Feywild for newer players can be intimidating and for
When?
more...
Fuck Adam, stop.
Jesus. And for more,
This is my least favorite bit you do.
for more experience. But I know, because I keep taking him seriously. I'm like, because he's not usually like this. So I look at him, I was like, fuck, about 20 minutes ago, you dumbass. What are you talking about? I'm literally sat next to you.
Of all your bits, this is my least favorite.
Why?
Fuck. I can't be the
Hey,
smartest.
there's some bits that we can bring back if you want. Hey! Stop you there. You stop me there. What Dan just suggested, and you might miss it at home, was because Adam is removing himself from being the most intelligent person at the table, that automatically makes Dan the most intelligent person at the table. Like, it wasn't even a discussion. He was like, I can't be the smartest one.
Harry, you can't be the strongest and the most good looking and the most charismatic and the smartest. You got to leave one for the rest.
Seriously. Pick 2. We'll take the. We'll take
Yeah,
the.
we'll take
I am
leftovers.
barely any of these things. My buddy is what they call all show, no go. I'm only good looking from certain angles, and those angles are pictures that I take on the 50-second take I post that picture. Like,
Mostly of your feet, oddly.
Now it is, yeah.
Yeah,
Or,
there's a lot of your feet making Instagram
or a dog.
rounds.
When I got my dog, I was like, I will not be an obnoxious
You got a
dog
dog?
owner. Adam,
Fuck, Adam. I hate this
Adam.
bit. This is the worst bit.
I was like, I will not be an obnoxious dog
Derry, campaign
owner.
ideas for Green Dragons.
Okay, Feywild. Okay, seriously, serious faces now. Okay. Can't do it. Can't do it. I can't believe people download this podcast, and a lot of people do now. Thousands and thousands and thousands of
Yeah,
downloads.
we're close to hitting 10,000.
We're almost to 10,000 downloads.
By the time
you
this
guys.
gets released, we will have hit 10,000.
We're almost at 12,000. Okay.
We were just at 6 yesterday.
So I was just saying, experienced players may be intimidated to explore the Feywild because the other experienced, because nerds are mean, will tell them they're doing it wrong. New players, it seems intimidating because the rules are not clear on what they can do. What I would say is lean into those classic fairy tales and take ideas from those fairy tales and employ them for the Feywild. Then you can take the thinking of the plots and the characters and what's involved. Use them as metaphors. We talked about Hansel and Gretel earlier. Whatever your candy house is, that is a metaphor for something else. That witch, probably going to be a hag, but doesn't need to be. It can be a satyr. It can be another type of creature. The children, probably going to be your party. Take all of that as a metaphor, put it into the Feywild, blow it up, exaggerate it, and then you have a safe campaign plot hook for while in the Feywild. I would also say that all of those fantastical ideas that you've seen from movies and books and whatever, and you're not sure if you can make it work in the material plane, because the material plane, you know, lots of ways seems very mundane, like Westeros, you're not sure what the rules are. Anything fantasy on steroids that you just love the idea of doing, those beautiful glowing elves that are still all magical and have these crazy abilities with nature and stuff, go to the Feywild, throw it in there, and you're gonna get away with it. No one's gonna bat an eyelid at it. So whatever crazy fantasy ideas you have, my campaign ideas, I'm giving you permission and telling you you can do that. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Take plot hooks from fairy tales, throw them into the Feywild, and off you go.
Yeah, for me, I would say I completely agree with you 100%. But I would also say, like, the Feywild doesn't really lend itself to be a full campaign-centric set piece. Like,
I think it could be. We'll talk about that another time.
It can be, but I feel like the Feywild is something your players do in the middle of a campaign.
What about, imagine Romeo and Juliet in the Feywild? Two opposing, like, great houses.
Well,
in the Feywild.
Sealing and unsealing?
Yeah. Yeah. You seen this?
Hear me out for a second, because this was actually what I was going to be before you stole my thunder. This was
Midsummer
my
Night's Dream.
Oh, sorry. Oh, Dan, you were mistaken. It's still my thunder. I'm now passing the thunder on to Dan. Did you roll next?
I rolled next. Yeah,
Just checking.
That's why I was going next.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did I roll?
Oh, fuck it. It's still there in front of you. Yeah. No, so what I would do is I did a lot of reading this week in prep for this on the elf side of things as well. And there is this drive for all elves to go to Arvindor, or Evan. I forget how to pronounce it already, and my book's gone. So,
And more.
there's a lot of this drive for them to go, and some elves find their way into the Feywild accidentally and stay, and then can't get to Arvindor from the Feywild. So what I would do is I would have a...
What's the reason? Sorry, just real quick. What's the reason?
they are drawn there because that is the home of all elves.
No, why can't they get there though?
Why can't they?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, make one up.
They can't find it. It's
They
the
can't
rules.
find their way out.
Sorry, I thought you were talking
things
about
are
something.
shifting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you as a party have to go retrieve an item from this person or something. Get some sort of MacGuffin from them, or stumbles into the Feywild with this guy and see him being, harried by Mauryans or something, right? Like he is being attacked in some way, shape, or form. Your party saves him, and he leads you on this grand tour through the Feywild to try to find the way to this realm of the primal elves. And this is when you're going to be experiencing things like the Sealy Court and these massive Fey cities. We haven't talked about the fact that there are still cities inside the Feywild, right? So you go see the massive Fey cities. You might have to have a reconnaissance mission into a Fomorian underground keep where the Mauryans are sitting there, and they're all about slavery, like a lot of the evil things are in this game.
Well, it's still the Underdark, right? It's Fey Dark, but it's still the Underdark.
It's still the Underdark, but like one of the big things, one of the reasons why they got the whole war started is they wanted to use the magic to enslave and rule the Feywild. So because they couldn't do that up above ground. They're doing that underground.
No, sorry, just to pause you. Would you guys put Drow in the Feydark?
110%.
But you know how the Illithids are a step above Drow power level. I mean, not always. There's a powerful fucking Drow, but ultimately it's the Illithids that are preying on the Drow societies. I wouldn't include Mind Flayers. I would have the Drow be the most powerful in the Feydark.
Funny enough, I would flip the trope on its head here, and I would have Fomorians who have used their Veg Fey curse in whatever way it is to enslave Mind Flayers and Drow.
I wouldn't even have Mind Flayers. That's what the Far Realms do.
I would have, and the problem is, like, the Far Realms are close to what you could do in the Feywild. Like, you start going on the Unseelie side of the Feywild, things could go old gaudy very quick.
Yeah, I would have the Mind Flayers deliberately stay away from the Feywild because either for whatever reason they're weakened or their stats are flipped, or that
the brains are just too sweet. They're not tasty. That's all I need out of this, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to get too deep about it.
Yeah, something that the crazy amped up nature of the Feywild they don't like because it means they don't have as much control.
Have this one, like, you know how Illithids just grow and they grow and they grow until they become the Elder Brain kind of thing. Have this one just big, monstrously Jabba the Hutt fat Illithid sitting there who just has a taste for the super sweet brains of the Feywild, and have him, like, pay the party. Listen, I won't eat your guys' brains. You're far too bitter. I need these specific brains. Go to the Feywild. Get me these type of brains.
Okay. I'm sorry. I derailed your Fomorians, but...
No. Honestly, man, like, the Fomorians, having them have, like, you go over there and you have a dungeon crawl of sorts inside of a Fomorian keep, where things are twisted and ugly in every way, shape, or form. Right? And then you pull from that, and then you go and you're finally released into Arvindor, where you meet the Celadrine, and you meet all of these primal elves, which in and of themselves are extreme, chaotic beings in and of themselves, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, you get to experience that as well. And this is a tier 3, tier 4 kind of, like, dip in. And that's what my campaign idea is, right? Like, use that. I really like the big fat Mind Flayer now. I think I might want to switch it to this. I love the big fat Mind Flayer.
Okay.
Sitting there with, like, fat old tentacles just flapping around.
Oh my god.
Did you say tentacles with an N?
Tentacles, yes.
Okay. And there are 10 of them?
Yes.
Okay.
There are 10...
Tickles,
yes.
Well then. Okay, so here's my thing about the Fae. When we say that we can't do an entire campaign about it, honestly, it swings that way based on the lore, because there's... As much as there are cities, you're right. We don't see cities anywhere. We see these small little groups of there's one satyr, right? Or then maybe they're roaming a pack of 8, but you don't get the satyr city.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of the stuff, a lot of the fake creatures, you're running into a handful of darklings. You're running into one red cap or 2 or 3 Koreds together, right? You're not really getting into the big societies. So how do you do a long-term campaign when the highest CR of any fake creature in the 3 main monster books for 5th edition is CR 7?
Fomorians are CR 8.
Yeah, but they're not Fae. Sure. Like, the Fae creatures themselves. Eladrin are CR10, right? But, I mean, really, you're not fighting Eladrin, right? If you're going to get into combat with one of these, it's going to be CR7 or lower, right? So how do you really run a campaign that isn't just role-playing in a weird Sealy court or a city on mescaline, right? Like, how are you able to run a campaign? And here's my pitch. You take the fairy tales. Remember we told the Tari Waves special episode?
God love Tari.
Cool
glasses.
We ended up saying, look, grab from lore and myth. You guys ever seen the movie The Brothers Grimm with Matt Damon and Heath Ledger?
Yeah.
Where they're con artists back in, like, I don't know, 16th century or whatever.
Victorian London, yeah.
Yeah, and they're running around, like, putting on the shows, but they're just con artists, and then they write the books, and everybody knows that, oh, they defeated the Hansel and Gretel witch, and and all the Brothers Grimm stories and whatnot are just them being kind of assholes, right? I would really take that, like, a page from that book, and I would say, look, grab all of your Grimm fairy tales, some of the really normal ones that everybody knows, and some of the really weird ones. hags in for witches, or maybe the odd sorceress, or a female warlock, right? Or you can do male versions of this as well. Really throw them on their head. Do you guys know what a male hag looks like? Just occurred to me. Why not? Right? Let's do that.
Don't they have to be female?
The males can be hag spawn or hag spawns.
Okay,
right. But and then
risky Google of the day.
You can take the risky Google. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
All right. But you can take these old Brother Grimm fairy tales and start off at level 1 and work your players through it, especially if they're new players and they want to see what Dungeons and Dragons is about. You can show them, walk them through Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? Where it's Goldilocks and 3 bugbears, right? Or 3 talking bears in the freaking Feywild. You drop them in there into the prime material plane, where there's a forest. It's a magical forest that's infected with the Feywild. And there's a beanstalk up to cloud giants. And you can just literally do all of these fairy tales and work your way up. And you just tell them ahead of time, we're going to get to CR 9 or 12 or whatever it is. And that's going to be the end of the campaign. We're not going all the way to 20. This is a flavor of what the Fae looks like. And you can run these very basic fairy tales through it. And I love the idea of there being a troll bridge. Right?
Hexbond.
Massive.
You were completely right, by the way. Hexbond.
Well, you're welcome.
So, but a bridge with a troll living underneath it. I know the trolls aren't Fae, but they would very much be in
the
a...
Feywild, yeah.
Well, even if they're not in the Feywild, they would be in a forest that's infected by the Feywild.
Or the bridge is one of the gates to the Feywild.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you can just pull from all of these legends. It doesn't have to be Brother Grimm. Why don't you grab the Ichabod Crane with the Headless Horseman?
Ooh.
Right? Like, you grab these old legends of, like, Sleepy Hollow and... yes, Dan? Some?
Well, no, you have your Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, where a guy, like, is swapping back between Unseelie and Seelie. And like, his Seelie side, he's beautiful, but on the other side, there's, like, this Unseelie
Or
murderer
even
running
into
through.
Fomorian.
Or even, like, he's a Fomorian that has found a way to make himself beautiful for a while. And he swaps back and forth.
Well, that could be a quest, is help the Fomorians get out of the, like, break their curse.
Yeah.
And turn them back into, I don't know, come out crystal giants, right? Like, come out Fey giants, whatever it is that you want to do, right? Really play into that. I wouldn't, like, honestly, it's the Feywild. Get fucking weird. They're weird, get weird. You know what? Butterfly wings in the back of fucking everybody. That's it. Your gnome shows up, it's got fucking butterfly wings. This bitch can fly. The moment you go back to the mundane world, you don't have the butterfly wings.
That also encourages players to want to stay in the Feywild. Because I remember when you did that with us, and
Yeah.
it was kind of approaching the time where we thought we were going back, and everyone was like, "Oh, kind of."
I was kind of pissed off at you for a little while there, because, like, you came to me after we got back from the Feywild, and you're like, just so you know, your character who, one of the big beats and, like, one of the ways I got into his head is I was like, he is an addict. He is...
But it was a crutch for him. It's not like, it's not like he liked the drugs. He needed the drugs.
Exactly, right? And then you're like, he no longer needs them. And I'm like, how the hell do I play this character now?
Yeah.
But
Like-
it's not that he doesn't do them. He doesn't need them.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's been infused with life and he can see the brighter side of things now. And yeah, it messed with you for like
It messed
3
with me
weeks.
for like 3 weeks, yeah, where I was just like, I have no idea how to play this character now.
Yeah.
Right? And it really messed me up because I'm like, Lockie goes for drink. No, he wouldn't, because he doesn't need to anymore. And the only thing he was doing, the only reason why he was doing them was because he needed to.
Okay, so here's another thing that I want to do. If you don't like the fairy tale idea, I want you to get dropped in the center of a valley, and it's a circular valley. It's almost a perfect circle, and there are like 6 different rings to it.
Good band.
Yeah, we both think.
Yeah, yes, because you're both tools.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Pussifer.
Adam's up. No, don't.
No,
Don't you dare.
no, that's the good name for Tabaxi.
Very good name for it.
Oh yeah. Terrible name for a fucking band, though. Oh my god.
But anyway, so you've
okay.
got all these rings, and you've got these. Let's say there's 10 mountains around the outside. Okay, depending on where you go in the rings and the paths that you choose, the central ring is seconds. The next one is minutes, then hours, then days, then weeks, then months. And if you decide that you're going to go three mountains, you're going to head over to the third mountain on the right, and you're going to go all the way to the end, then you've gone 3 months into the future. Or if you go 3 to the left, you go 3 months into the past. And so that's your time dilation. You literally drop a clock. You give your players a map in this valley, and you say, here's where you have to go. There are gates all over the place. Are you going to leave where you entered? And if you do, no time has passed.
Oh, shit. That's a crazy idea.
Right? And then you drop this idea on them, and if you are a smart enough dungeon master, and God knows I got by on this in the skin of my teeth by pure fucking luck. I didn't plan this. If you are a smart enough dungeon master, you can have them go back in time and change events.
Yeah.
While maintaining their levels. And all of their memories. Right? And the Feywild allows you to play with wibbly wobbly. What's the phrase, Dan?
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Yep, there we go.
Time warp, it is called in the Dungeon Master's Guide.
But
Every time you say that, I go, "Let's do this," in my head. So
Well,
thank you.
don't.
No.
and if they decide to go off of the paths and they just enter random gates, they can jump hundreds of years in the future. They can see what happened to the world when they didn't save it, right? They can go hundreds of years in the past and get legendary weapons that were lost in time, right? Because where they're going, they don't need roads. And now we have the time dilation factor and the warping back and forth. This is what I would play with the Feywild. You can do a whole campaign playing with time.
Cool.
And that's it. And I would also give them, I don't know, rings, necklaces, Ioun stones that no one else can take off. Something that makes them immune to the time shifts, right? So they can, in theory, talk to previous selves and, play how you want. I mean, time travel's so fucking hard.
Yeah,
right?
and if you want to create tension with that, because, you like to talk about the race against time and tension, all you need to happen is the 9-year-old Kenku NPC just needs to start to fade. And that will scare the shit out of them, and then they will work faster.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely fantastic. If you are smart enough, if you can think in the fourth dimension, you should be able to use the Feywild as a hub to travel back and forth in places that you know exist. You can pass between worlds. And I think that's just, I don't know, man, that's batshit insanity. And that's a lot of fun. And you come through it, and what era are you in the Feywild? Right? Because maybe it changes only when you enter in. So you go 900 years into the past. You go through the gate again, and you're 900 years in the past in the Feywild. So now you have to go 900 years in the future to get back to the
We're gonna
present.
lose him here.
Right? No,
Oh my God.
but like you can really play with this. If you're smart enough, you got the brain for it, you can play with this. And remember, keep it weird in the hub.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah, I like it. I really like it.
Anyway, that's my answer.
I love it. I love the rings idea of the big clock. I kind of had like a map in my mind with perfectly circular with rings. Dan, anything else you want to add on top of what Adam said there?
No, man. I think Adam's completely correct. Where the Feywild is very under supported in D&D 50
that.
right now.
I feel like I said that.
Oh, one of you said that.
When did I say that?
You said that earlier. You did. Stop this fucking bit.
As the second most intelligent person at the table, and the first most when Adam is not. I definitely said that.
I'm sorry, Derek.
So are we
You're
gonna roll
gonna give a
initiative?
shit. No, God damn.
No, we're actually coming to the end of the show.
Coming to an
Dan
end.
has nothing else to add.
I agree, and when they do things like this, when they add, when there's a lack in the additions that they're putting in the game, it is them giving you space to have fun with it. So please just go and have fun with it.
Especially with the Feywild.
Especially
right?
the Feywild.
The Feywild gives you more permission than anywhere else.
Adam won't remember because he's a tool, but you did say earlier that, all of those weird shit and weird high fantasy things that you can't really justify to throw in your kind of medium low magic campaign.
Yeah.
Throw them in here,
Throw
man.
it in.
Like they're great.
Jack
Like
it up.
Mauryans.
Like Mauryans. Yes.
Well, chaps, it's been a pleasure, as always. Avec plaisir. That was not the right phrase for that time. Okay, team, what am I saying? I'm trying to wrap this show. Guys, you can
You
find
stumbled over avec plaisir.
pleasure, then I was like, that means with pleasure. That was not the right thing to say there. Team, you can
Or
find
was it?
any of us at It's a Mimic on Instagram. You can find us at info@itsamimic.com. You can find
That's our
me.
email.
That is I think they fucking know that, Dan. Jesus, it's 2019, okay? They understand what email address is.
I'm just saying.
Okay, well, thanks. You know what, Dan? You're this close. You're the thinnest of thin ice right now. You can find me personally at SendNoobsDND. DM me. You can find Dan
At Oscar_the orc with all K's and underscores.
and you can find Adam at
I just got a new Facebook page. So
For reals? Did you for real get your Facebook page, or is this still your bit?
He's been doing this bit the entire show.
Because I was
How are you the second smartest person in this room?
I was like, Facebook. I was looking at him like, Facebook?
Yeah, I just got cable internet, and it's the best thing in the world.
MySpace, you do MySpace as well. You can find Adam at Rusty Styrofoam on Instagram. That's the new one everybody's using.
Yeah.
But not for long, so keep your eyes open.
We are also on Twitter at It's a Mimic D&D.
Yeah.
And we are on Facebook at the It's a Mimic page, or you could just go to the website to find us all at itsamimic.com.
You know what else you can find on our website, Dan?
What?
We have brand new It's a Mimic t-shirts with our brand new logo on there.
Yeah, we do.
So get yourself on Instagram, take a look at them. The pink one's my favorite, and if you really want, I'll wear it for you, I'll sign it, and then I'll send it to you, okay? www.itsamimic.com. Order yourself a pink t-shirt. We're out.
So do we roll initiative, or...
Fucking killing me.
You know what we should do is a cold open.
Man, I've never, like, I hate it when I just get stumped my words.
He is getting more and more red as throughout the progression of the episode. You're just getting more and more red.
Hey man,
and I don't
it's
think that's
stressful
entirely
DMing these episodes.
Thank you for listening to It's a Mimic. Check us out online at itsamimic.com or on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Have questions you would like answered by the guys on the show? Send them an email to itsamimic@gmail.com. Tune in every Tuesday for more.
We go from there. Do we say cold open?
Yeah, we just start by saying cold open.
That's
So cold open.
my notes say cold open. What's going on in the world, chaps?
No. I pay attention to the news, and we are not starting that way.
No.
We want people to be in a good mood.
Oh.
Because fuck.
But the world's been ending for, I'm 31 years old, for the past 31 years, and we're still going.
Yeah, but
still
it's
kicking.
ramped up in the past couple weeks.
Yeah, things
have gotten bad.
No,
Yeah.
thank you.
Maybe, but I feel like it's always bad.
You're right. It is always bad. The news is a negative thing. However, in the last 4 years or so, for some reason, it's been consistently getting quote-unquote worse. But the thing is, everybody forgets about it and they move on to the next worst thing. Do you guys remember the Panama Papers? Here's a great example where it found out that, surprise, surprise, all the rich people in the whole fucking world are stealing all of our money. Yeah. It's major embezzlement, and they're corrupt as all shit, and everyone is mad for about 25 seconds, and they moved on to the next fucking outrage. Right? There are still children in internment camps, and everyone's like, right, but Starbucks has the new pumpkin spice latte coming back again, right? And
all depends what outrage is for you.
Like, for
There's still some schools in there out there, Dan, that got peanut butter. And if you ask me, that's fucking diabolical.
So
okay?
I disagree.
So
exactly, because what we're saying is, in the big picture, it's not a big deal.
But no, my point is that there are outrages that people are not paying attention to, and I feel like some news sources are beating you over the head with them, and there's no escape, and it's just depressing, and there are other ones that are not doing it, and I'm sitting there going, why aren't you talking about this shit? And that's depressing. So I try to steer clear of news media for the most part.
Therefore, we won't do news for the cold open.
Right.
Today's episode will be about... No, let's do a cold open. Let's do a cold open for these people that deserve it. They don't want to be depressed.